Hello, everyone. I'm Richard Keck, and welcome to All Things Fantasy Football and the long-awaited 2022 preseason rankings for the DRF Fantasy Football League, the Dynasty League. This year, I did something a little different. In addition to the rankings with just me going by my rankings, I used a couple of other team analyzers, put them both side by side, put my rankings side by side, and kind of went off that and brought a little bit more to the table as far as like statistics and stuff. First off, I use Football Guys. They give you a grade based on, like a letter grade like you would in college. So we use that, and I'll give you the letter grades for every team. Additionally, I used one called dynastyranker.com, and what they do is they provide a numerical value for every player in the league. And it'll give you, so you get a team total, you'll have a starting lineup total, and then your positional rankings where you rank in the league. The downside to that, as far as doing it preseason like this, is we all have different amount of players. So there will be some skewed numbers because, a team like Edlinger doesn't have a full roster, so only has like 15, 16 players, or, then you got Laurent who has like 33. So it's a little skewed at this point. I'll try it again once we complete our auction draft and see how much better those are. But it's enough to give you a basic starter, a preview at least to feel how the site is. So I compared those two along with my rankings. I did mine first before I pulled these up just to see how close they were. I wasn't too far off from what either one of these had. There's quite a few teams that are interchangeable within a certain area on both the lower end and the higher end. So that was pretty close. So we're going to get right into that. Again, just remember that as I read these statistics from the Dynasty Ranker, they are a little skewed. Like you might rank 8th in tight ends and have an example is Edlinger has Travis Kelce, but he ranks 3rd in tight end rankings because he only has 2 tight ends. So, it definitely that definitely skews the statistics a little bit there too. So anyway, so we're gonna get going. I'm gonna start right in as my 14th ranked team for this year. Actually, before I get started, I would be amiss if I didn't acknowledge our little picture back here of G. I don't think he knew that I had this picture. I had it given to me so that we could use it for here. And it's pretty fitting for a guy who is, gets the #1 draft pick every year and drafts the best running back every year, and they all get hurt. So if you have any Breece Hall shares in any other leagues, trade them now while you have the chance. So anyways, back to the rankings. Start off at number 14. We have Wiggins and the Wiggy team. He was given an F by the fantasy guys. And it all makes sense. I mean, Wiggins was preparing for next year's draft. He got a good amount of receivers in this year's draft class that he's definitely looking forward to for next year. That and Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks, all 3 of them fantastic wide receivers. If I'm him, I'm sticking all those guys on the taxi squad. While he doesn't have his pick for next year, the sticking him on the taxi squad will save that dollar value, save those guys from going up, because they do hit that 5-year level, and then they're at 25, and then it's really hard to keep too many players at the 25 level. That's the situation I'm going to come into in the next year or so, having too many guys all hitting 25. So you want to keep them as cheap as possible. He's not going to compete this year. He's not going to be a playoff team. Keep those guys on your taxi squad and let them evolve there. Overall, though, he did a good job as far as the draft goes. Probably one of the best, I think, getting all 3 of those guys. He just doesn't have a lot much to go with him. You look, Mac Jones is your starting quarterback. You're starting Marlon Mack and maybe Kenneth Gainwell. Tyler Higbee, he's not going to compete. So he's definitely gearing forward next year where he's got a lot more draft picks. Like I said, he got an F from the fantasy guys, which makes complete sense for him. As far as the Dynasty Ranker, he finishes 14th in team total at 44,899. Excuse me. Lineup total finishes 13th. So there's actually a team with a worse starting lineup than him, and we'll get to that here in a second. And then totals, positional totals, 12th in QB, 14th in running back, 13th in tight end, but he does get that 6 at wide receiver because of those young rookies that he has, and he's only going to get better next year when he adds a bunch more players. So that's our 14th spot. Wiggy, like I said, not playing for this year. He's banking on the 23 season to start really putting his team together. At the 13th spot, we have Bond and Stop Order coming in at 13th, also given an F by fantasy guys. Again, it makes a little sense. I think he's got some pieces as well that he can build around. What he doesn't have is the draft picks that Wiggins has, but he definitely has some picks that he can build around. The Dynasty ranker gives him 46,418 for a total, which ranks 13th in the league, and his lineup total is the worst one they have at 29,864, which is about 4,000 points less than Wiggins. So again, this is them just picking what they perceive as their best lineup in this formula and putting that in there. Positional rankings: QB at 13th, 13th for running back, 12th for wide receiver, and 11th at tight end. So you could see that he's definitely got some work to do in that regard as far as building up. Does have a couple nice pieces in Jameson Williams. If he can, stay healthy, he's coming off that big injury. Derek Carr, I definitely like him as a starter. As far as everything else goes, it's going to be, we'll see what happens. Does have Albert O at that tight end spot. That's going to be a nice cheap steal right there. So it's going to be tough for Stop Order to compete for playoffs. Some of the top teams are really good this year. So again, hopefully, I have not looked at his draft scenario at this moment, so I don't know if he's got all his draft picks. Hopefully he does, so that way he can get in on a good draft class next season. So that's the 13th team, Stop Order. The 12th team, this team could finish anywhere. I had them anywhere from 8 to 12. I bounced them around a couple times, but I have Show Me the Money, Barton's team there at 12th. Fantasy Guys gives him a C for his grade, which is definitely, a little higher than what you would think at 12 here, sitting here. So, he definitely has that C grade. Probably could be a little bit higher in the rankings. Has the Dynasty ranker team total at 53,051, which comes in at 12th for the league, and a lineup of 41,498, which comes in at 8th. So you can see the disparity where they, these guys can stay healthy, you can keep them on the field, that he can definitely produce and put up a better showing than 12th for this team. Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Javonte Williams, which I absolutely love at running back. Just not much else at running back. I mean, nothing else at running back at the moment. Nice receivers in Waddle, Judy, Amari Cooper. Some depth guys after that, but nothing that'll knock your socks off. Hopefully that John Mechie turns out to be something, but at this point we don't know. Positional totals: ranks 9th at quarterback, 12th at running back, wide receiver 9, and tight end 5. Again, if you see Jalen Hurts there and you think, oh, he's got to be better than 9th at quarterback. That's also when you add in the factors of the other quarterbacks. He only has other one is Ryan Tannehill, where most other teams have 3. So again, the numbers are skewed at this point because we all don't have the same build, for a team. You might not even have 4 tight ends on your roster, even when we're done with our auction rankings or our auction draft. So you're definitely your score is going to be a little off there, because it does give an individual player score for every player. So that's the number 12 team. Show Me the Money. That's Barton's team. Definitely one that could finish a lot higher than that. Coming in at number 11 is Here Goes Nothing, Silliman's team. I think Silliman did an excellent offseason, acquiring different players, acquiring some picks. He's definitely in the right direction for a rebuild. The fantasy guys gave him a D for a grade. They also don't know what he had to start. I mean, that's another thing too. They go by what you have, and they think that you drafted that, and that would be a D grade. But they don't know that you didn't have much to begin with, and you turned it around and acquired more assets. Again, that's why I kind of move people with these other ones, just to help to kind of tell you what your team is, but also to we can talk about where you were. And, here goes nothing definitely is on the upside. He drafted some good players this year. Has Fournette and Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders at running back. Carson Wentz isn't going to knock your socks off, but, you had Malik Willis in the draft. Rashad Bateman, Cortland Sutton, which I think is going to have an excellent year this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown. All those guys are good starters. Michael Gallup could have a good year. And then he's got, Dallas Goedert at tight end. So he's made some moves to get some better players, and he's got himself in a better position than he was a year ago. The Dynasty Ranker has him at 55,415, which is good for 11th in the league for a team total, and 38,304, which is also good for 11th. Same place where I have him ranked and had him ranked also. So fits right in. That's about the place where he should be at this point in the season. Positional rankings: 14th at quarterback, 9th at running back, 9th at tight end, wide receiver 10. So that's where he ranks within our league, 10th in the league at wide receiver. So that is, there goes nothing. Silliman's team at position 11. The next position is position 10. And position 10 belongs to future DRF. Future DRF is Shane Peterman. Fantasy Guys gives him a D+ for his great effort. I definitely think he's got a better team than a D+. Again, so it all depends on where you were last year and where you are now. Team total for the Dynasty Ranker is 58,052, which clicks in at 10th for the league, and the starting lineup is 37,227, which clicks in at 12th for the league. So they're a little down on his starting lineup. Position-wise, he finished 7th at quarterback, 5th at running back, 7th at wide receiver, and 14th last at tight end. But when you look at his players, he's running Tom Brady this year. Tom Brady numerically has a lower team or a lower player score because of the fact that he's not going to be around very much longer. So he doesn't have the numbers that some of the younger quarterbacks have, but we know he's going to produce a little bit better. So I think Future's going to produce a little bit better than the 10th spot based on who his starters are. Rashad Penny also doesn't get a great score, but I think he's in for a decent year as well. I liked Michael Pittman, Deontay Johnson, and looks like it's going to be Jahan Dotson going for him for a while as Godwin heals from his injury. And then there's always the potentials of guys coming, out of the woodwork. Kenny Galladay, if he can bounce back. Jalen Reagor needs to try and step up. Chenault has been, non-existent too. So you got guys that definitely, could change the makeup of this team. Chris Carson, coming back, has a low player score, even though, he's not slated to start. You know how those running backs go down unless you are on Edlinger's team and he has no injuries. The 14th ranked tight end, he only has one on the roster, Logan Thomas. Makes sense that he has the lowest tight end score of the bunch. But we got him sitting at 10th in the league for the preseason ranking so far. Future DRF coming in at 10. Number 9, another team. I've made the mistake of ranking him high in the past, and it burned me. So this is about as high as I'm going for good old Garrett here. In the motorboaters, put him in the 9 spot. Fantasy Guys got him as a C-. Team total for a Dynasty Ranker is 58,400, which puts him at 9th. The lineup total is 39,758, which puts him 10th in the league. Position-wise, QB 10th, running back 2, which makes a lot of sense when you're drafting number 1 every year and drafting that year's top running back. You're going to have a high running back score. So he's 2nd in the league at running back, clocking in at the 9 spot in the league. 14th at wide receiver also makes sense. He's got Calvin Ridley, who knows if he's ever going to play again, and then Allen Robinson, who didn't play at all last year, and who knows what he's going to do this year. Other than that, there is not much on there to desire at the wide receiver position. So definitely it makes sense why he's dead last at wide receiver. And then tight end, ranked 6. That also makes sense. Getting Freiermuth last year to go with Zach Ertz and Evan Ingram was a good pickup for Garrett last year. And so that's Garrett at 10th. We'll see if the injury bug can stay away from him. If not, trade your shares of Breece Hall as soon as possible. But a nice starting lineup of Breece Hall, Barkley, and either Dobbins or Etienne. I mean, he's got four running backs there and can't even use them all. But that's nice base to build your team around. Just got to get some wide receivers. Got Dak Prescott. Got to put some guys around him. So that's our 10 spot. I'm sorry, that's our 9 spot motorboaters and Garrett's team. Coming in at 8 is Straight Outta Tomlin. And Straight Outta Tomlin, to me, had probably one of the best off seasons combined overall. This was a team that was going to be borderline finishing last. And with all the moves they made this year, I've got them up here as 8th and, knocking on the playoff door. My initial rankings had them a little higher, but I figured I jumped the gun a little bit. So brought it back down to earth. We'll see what happens. See which Straight Outta Tomlin team shows up. But definitely I've got him here right now. The grade from Fantasy Guys is a nice solid B-, which definitely tells you from where he was to now is a huge improvement. Team total is 62,239, which ranks 7th in the league. And lineup wise is 4828, which ranks 9th in the league. So putting him at 8 is probably a nice fair spot. QB total is 11th in the league. Running backs 4th, tight end 7th, wide receiver 8th. So you can see he's got a lot of those competitive numbers. This is going to be a competitive team and a tough team to beat on the weekly basis. Guys on the roster, you're looking at Najee Harris, Kamara, James Conner. I like Rashad White, was a nice pickup in the draft. Running out either Baker or Jameis Winston to start the year. Trading for Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, getting George Pickens, even though got him way too early. This team could have been in a much better spot if you'd have got somebody else there instead of Pickens. Juju moving to Kansas City did nothing but help this team because he drafts all the Steelers. So, at least now he has a little diversity, having one of them Steelers heading over to Kansas City, and you can't get better than having Mahomes throw to him. Tight end wise, he's 7th in tight end, but the dude's sitting with 6 tight ends on his roster. So a couple of those will get cut. So by the next time we do this, the tight end score will be a little lower, as Robert Tonyan seems to be the best one on the roster at the moment. So 7th at tight end, but that score is definitely skewed compared to a guy that only has 1 tight end on his roster. So that is our 8th ranked team, Straight Outta Tomlin. Nate Jones did a good job in the offseason. The 7th ranked team is the River Rats. There we go, the River Rats. Yep, coming in at the 7th. Fantasy Guys has them as a C-, and then the total team rankings, the dynasty ranking total team score is 63,460, which has him as 6th for the year. Lineup is 41,615, which is 7th. Positional rankings, quarterback 2, tight end 4, which is really good. Wide receiver and running back both 11. Quarterback 2 makes a lot of sense. Joe Burrow, Stafford, Zach Wilson. I mean, he's got 3 really good, starters there. Running back 11th probably just is due to the lack of depth because you got Melvin Gordon, Nick Chubb. You got that Tyron Davis-Price. There is a nice rookie pickup. Not much after that to talk about. Wide receivers, got a couple nice young guys in the draft. Olave and Sky Moore to go with Stephon Diggs. DeAndre Hopkins when he comes back 6 weeks from his suspension. Corey Davis, little depth piece. AJ Green probably gets you through until D-Hop gets back. So the scores are a little low because some of those guys don't have a lot of high score, but they're going to fit well for this team. And, this is definitely going to be a competitive playoff seeking team for the River Rats for Paxi. That is our 7th ranked team, the River Rats, coming in at 7. Coming in at 6 is Bella Check Yourself. And that is Depue's team there. Got an A+ grade from Fantasy Guys. I think I only lowered him down to 6 just because of some of the question marks on the team. But if they're all clicking in place, this is a team that finished 3rd last year. was won the division multiple times and is definitely going to be competing for that division. As it looks like probably Paxi is probably one of the top contenders for that division. So he's definitely going to be in the hunt for that division. But Fantasy Guys has him as an A+, has him in the top 4. And then the team total for from Dynasty Ranker is 7506, which also puts him at 4. And then the lineup score was 45,601, which puts him at 5th. So me putting him at 6, kind of a little disrespect compared to what both Fantasy Guys and the Dynasty Ranker gave him. But when I read just some of the players on the same team, you'll see why the little bit of a drop. Starting at quarterback, Cousins is probably going to be the guy. You got Trey Lance and Tua there, and you don't know what you're going to get with either one of those. So probably be Cousins. But you know what? For a running back total, for quarterback total, he ranked 4th, probably because he has 3 of them, and they're decent numbers for all of them. Running back total's 3rd. Christian McCaffrey carries that total right there. And Christian McCaffrey, as we all know, I've got him in multiple leagues. I want him to play. I want him to be healthy, but for 2 straight years, he has not been. So it is hard to get all on board and say, he's going to be a super stud when you don't even know if he's going to play, 10 games this year. And 10 would probably be an improvement over what it has been. After that, you got Elijah Mitchell, James Cook, if he turns into anything, and then not much after that. Wide receiver wise, he's looking at Cooper Kupp, who was absolutely amazing. Can he repeat? He's got a nice score there. Then you got Michael Thomas. Again, hasn't played in 2 years. So when you've got guys that haven't played 2 years, if you got one guy that hasn't played 2 years, you can say, you overlook it a little bit when you're having 2 of your top players not played in 2 years, makes it really hard. Despite that, he's finished high, 4th and 3rd the last 2 years. So I expect he's definitely going to make a play for the division and the playoffs. Also on this team is Gabriel Davis. Not much after that. Maybe Kadarius Toney. We'll see how that goes. George Kittle is the tight end and the only tight end. That's why the tight end ranking is at 10th. The other 3 are carrying very, very low scores to carry this team total. So that's my 6th ranked team. I'm sure I'm going to hear about it and how I got him ranked a little low this year, but I'll hear that tomorrow when I go to work. The 5th ranked team is Back That Pass Up. And if Depew wasn't mad about being ranked 6, he's going to be even more mad that I got him ranked behind Berge. And I think I might have done that on purpose. Fantasy Guys gives Berge a B+ for the draft grade. Has a team total of 72,341, which ranks 3rd in the league. Lineup is 45,655, which ranks 4th in the league. So, that's where I gave him the nod over Belichick, is the 3-4 ranking compared to 4-5. And then you start looking at some of the players, and he's got some good players, and he's got players that have played a little bit more. That's just an easy nod for me for the time being. Will Berge mess it up? That is definitely a possibility. So we'll see what happens there. But some of the position rankings for Berge: quarterback 6, running back 10, tight end 8, and wide receiver ranks 2nd. Has Josh Allen and nobody else at quarterback. So that's why the 6th ranking. He has one of the best quarterbacks, but has Sam Howell, Jordan Love. Gonna have to get somebody else in the auction. Running back wise, David Montgomery with Josh Jacobs and Zamir White was a nice pickup, but not much there. That's why he's ranked 10th. But the wide receivers are pretty solid and pretty deep. You got McLaurin, Mike Evans, who I think is just going to blow up, especially with Godwin being hurt. Hunter Renfrow coming in at 3rd. You got Tyler Lockett coming in under wide receiver 4. Darnell Mooney is maybe a wide receiver 5 or wide receiver 6 there. Devontae Parker. He's pretty stacked at the wide receiver position. So that makes sense that why he's ranked 2nd at the wide receiver position. So that is my 5th ranked team. Back That Pass Up. Coming in at 4th, I have the Motor City Machine Guns. LaRon's team was given a C from Fantasy Guys, but has a 72,985 team total for the Dynasty ranker, which ranks second in the league, and a lineup total of 43,889, which ranks sixth in the league. Quite a disparity between, the second best overall team and then the sixth best starting lineup. Just means you've got a lot of players, just not a lot of studs at those positions. Again, remember, this is also based on the totals are based on how many players you have, and LeBron has a crap ton of players. So when we do this again, these rankings might change, and we'll do that after our auction draft. Position total: QB is fifth, running back 8, and then wide receiver is 3, and tight end is 2. So those are some good rankings for Motor City. They're coming in at the 4th spot. He's got some good players on his team. Got Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Might need to pick up a third option there in case Watson gets a lengthy suspension. Running backs, you got Mixon, Elliott, that Tyler Algier, and I know I'm going to say his name wrong, Algier. He might get some good playing time this year. Wide receivers: Keenan Allen, Devontae Smith, Tyler Boyd. Then he's got a whole bunch of guys that are trying to find their way. Like Russell Gage might be a nice play early in the year. Alec Pierce could be a really good play for him too. Nico Collins, lots of decent guys to plug in there. Got a few duds near the end, but Henry Ruggs and Antonio Brown are probably toast, but they carry a 0 score anyway. So tight end, Mark Andrews with Njoku, nice 1-2 combo there. So definitely a good team for Laurent, coming in at the 4th spot. The 3rd spot belongs to the Chimp is back, and Edlinger's team. The fantasy guys, of course, they're going to give him an A+ because he does have a very solid starting lineup. Gives him that nice A+ for his grade. The Dynasty ranker gives him a team total of 61,640, which is good for 8th in the league. Again, he doesn't have as many players. You got to take that into account, and I did so in the ranking by putting him at the 3 spot. The lineup is 5-1-7-2-7, which is good for second best lineup in the league. QB 8th for position total. Again, that's going to be a low drop because he only has Patrick Mahomes on his team. So everybody else has 2-3 quarterbacks on their roster. They're going to carry a little more weight. Running back 7th at the position, wide receiver 13th at the position, and tight end is 3rd. So again, this is a real hard team to look at those ranking positional numbers because he's got good players. He just doesn't have very many of them. And he's got Mahomes as his only quarterback. He's got Kelsey and Schultz are his only tight ends. He's got another guy that carries a 0 score. His wide receivers, he only has 5 that carry a score at all. Jamar Chase is an almost perfect score with Devontae Adams and Watson. He's got all kinds of Green Bay receivers on here, but doesn't have a lot of depth at all. At running back, A.J. Dillon, Kenneth Walker, Damian Harris. Also has Madison for when Cook misses some time. Ramondre Stevens if Harris goes down. So that's literally, I just read you his entire roster. So he doesn't have a lot there. Not a lot in the auction either. He's going to have some cap room to get a guy, so there's going to be a couple guys to get, and I'll go through some of those guys that are going to be available here at the end of the video. But he's going to be able to get a guy, but there's other guys with cap space who are also going to make sure that he's paying for any guy he does get so that he doesn't get more than one. So there's a few others with cap space as well. So remember, this is ABE2. Anybody but Edlinger. Somebody's got to win this league other than him. We can't have him win 5 out of 6. It's ridiculous. So that's the third best team in the league. I wanted to put him at 4 or 5. Had a hard time putting him below Berge or Depew in the preseason rankings. So that's about as low as I could get him because he does have some good players on the roster. So that's the number 3 team. Chimp is back. Coming in at number 2 is Chaos. Had Derrick Henry not got hurt last year, that would be your defending champion without a doubt with the pace that he was on, the scoring pace that Chaos was on. It definitely would have been a title run for him. As it worked out, injuries get us all, and he was able to get into the playoffs, but finished fourth in the league overall. So not a great finish to a year that started out with so much promise, but now we're starting all over again. Fantasy Guys gives him an A+, which is well deserved. Dynasty Ranker gives a team total of 66,035, which is fifth for team total. But lineup total is 47,321, which puts him at third for a lineup. Position rankings: QB 3, running back 6, wide receiver 4, and then tight end 12. Again, remember the amount you have. When you have Gronkowski who retires, and then you've got all you have really is Hunter Henry. Your tight end total is going to be really low. Wide receivers, love this wide receiver group. Debo, Marquise Brown, who's going to be, probably blow up right out of the gate in Arizona. Now that D-Hop's got them 6 games off. Mike Williams, hopefully he has another year like he did last year, which he was phenomenal. Chase Claypool, Adam Thielen, even DJ Chark going to Detroit. Nicole Hardman, now that Tyreek Hill's gone. Good wide receiver group here. Running backs, Eckler, Derrick Henry, Antonio Gibson. Nice three-team combo. Picks up Spiller. Stole him from me in the rookie draft. Gets Spiller there to cover up in case Eckler gets hurt. So really nice group here. Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers. Have fun picking who your starter is every year. This is going to be a really good team. A really tough team. And when you consider that, I had Motor City ranked 4th, Chaos ranked 2nd, and our number 1 team are all in the same division, even straight out of Tomlin coming in at the 8th spot, that division is really, really stacked. It's going to be tough to see who comes out of that with the 1 seed this year. So that's our Chaos coming in at number 2. The number 1 team is my Chicago Fire team, A+ from Fantasy Guys. Team total of 121,331, which is the team total. Remember, the second highest team total was 72,985, so that's quite a gap between there. But I've got a lot of deep players, so that's going to skew that a little bit too. Lineup total of 69,041, which is also good for the best lineup. Position rankings: quarterback 1, running back 1, wide receiver 1, tight end 1. So 1s across the board. It's the consensus 1 team by all 3 ranking systems. The only thing I don't have is a title. So this is definitely the year that I want to win this title. But as we all see, it takes a lot to put it in order to win the title. So we'll see what happens. Quarterbacks: Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a great year this year. It's going to be hard to decide who to play every week. I'll probably start off with Murray and see how Wilson does in his new system. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is going to be greatly improved. He's going to sit on that taxi squad where he belongs for another year or 2. Running backs: Jonathan Taylor has the perfect score, the 9.999, has a nice 99.99 score. DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook, RB2 and RB3 are probably better than anyone else's RB2 and 3. Aaron Jones and Cam Akers and Kareem Hunt, again, starters in their own right on a lot of teams. So that's 6 really good running backs. Not a lot of depth though, because after that, that's all we have. Only 6 running backs on the roster. Wide receiver rankings, first also, and then it's a lot of youth and a lot of young guys. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, and even Robert Woods all should contribute some this year. Picked up Khalil Shakir, Buffalo wide receiver, put him on the taxi squad. A couple other guys got not much value there. Tight ends: Kyle Pitts and Darren Waller. Drafted that Jelani Woods for the Colts. Irv Smith Jr. still waiting to see if he does anything, so we'll see if he bounces back. But overall, good team. Got some cap space to try to block some of the high dollar guys from going to Edlinger. So it should be a good year. So that's our number one team, the Chicago Fire, going into the preseason. We'll see how these totals hold up when we all get a balanced roster, all have the 25 team roster, and have your guys on your taxi squad, the whole 9 yards. And I'll run these numbers all again, and we'll see where they compare. The next ranking we'll compare it to where we are now to what we have after we do that auction draft. So that is the rankings for the DRF in the preseason. I also said I was going to go over some of the guys that were available, that are going to be available in the auction as of right now. This is without asking for cuts. I'll probably ask for cuts sometime next week. Yes, sometime next week I'll ask for cuts. And I don't have the calendar in front of me, but I will be posting when we're going to do our auction. It'll be coming up at the beginning of August, so be ready for that. Remember, with the auction, if you don't have a lot of cap space and you want me to just pick the guys with your few dollars that you have there, you just send me a list in order of what you're looking for, what positions you're trying to fill. You're trying to get that extra defense, trying to get a kicker, whatever else, and put some guys in an order, and then I'll just draft them for you with your dollar bids or whatever. So, but if you've got some cap space, you want to definitely try to be there, or at least give me a nice list with a values of what you want to go to try to get those players. So anyways, top quarterbacks available. There are some quarterbacks, and there's some guys that need a quarterback. Edlinger's only got one. Like I said earlier, I think Wiggins only has one that's worth starting, and there's a couple other guys that only have maybe one quarterback worth starting, and you want to get that other guy to cover you on the bye weeks for the year. We got Davis Mills going to be starting for the Texans. Yeah, Matt Ryan starting for the Colts, which he's got a lower grade for dynasty keeping purposes, but for this year, I think Matt Ryan's probably your top guy. Mitch Trubisky. If you picked up Kenny Pickett, want to try to get Trubisky if you don't already have three quarterbacks. He's a good one. Marcus Mariota, and then maybe even a Tyler Huntley if you're a Lamar Jackson owner, and you pick him up. And I know Motor City only has two. He has Deshaun Watson, Jackson, maybe getting Huntley or getting Deshaun Watson's other guys, or that Jacoby Brissett. Picking him up if he's available. He's not on the list here, but that doesn't mean he's not available. So those are the top quarterbacks available. Top running backs that are available at this moment. We got James Robinson. You have Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones going to Kansas City could be a nice fill-in there for, or even a share situation with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You got Naheem Hines, Donta Foreman, and Dontrell Hilliard. Last two, nothing spectacular, but them top three definitely have some value in James Robinson, Jones, and Naheem Hines. So you got a couple quarterbacks with some value. You got three running backs. We already have some guys that have some value worth taking. Top wide receivers, we have Brandon Cooks. He had a good season last year. Jamison Crowder also had a good year. Braxton Berrios, Quintez Cephas. So we got, 3 or 4 guys there too that also could produce and get some value. And then if you're looking for a tight end, Jonnu Smith is out there. Donald Parham, Tyler Conklin, even though I don't believe he's with the team at the moment. Or maybe grabbing a guy like Noah Gray and stashing him for when Kelsey, is gone and moved on. So, that's the best of the best at the moment that are out there. So we got some guys out there to worth spending some money on. I'm not going to go through what kickers and defenses are available. Those are dime a dozen, and they all rotate every year. The top defense last year is hardly ever the defense the next year, and same for kickers. So, in fact, I would vote to throw kickers out of this league altogether. There's no need for kickers. Defenses, I can see maybe a reason to keep them, but kickers, we have no need for kickers in any league anymore. But until I get them out of one, I'm not going to vote them out of all my other leagues either. So that is all I've got for today. Hope this was a better video than the one I was going to originally post, which I already know it was. That was just like a 10 or 15 minute with a whole lot of ums and me looking all over the place because I had nothing to talk about. So I hope this was worth the wait and gives you guys something to enjoy watching. Again, I'm going to use these same systems When we do it again, you hear it a couple weeks or 3 weeks after we have the ranking systems, and or I mean after we all have our set lineups in place, our set rosters, and do our auction draft. So that is all I have for today. Thanks for listening. I'm Richard Keck, and this is All Things Fantasy Football. Have a good evening.